All right, Lydia, the red light just came on. A lot of people bail right now. Do you want to go forward or we can stop it? You're good? All right,
No,
we're going
I'm
to go,
good.
everybody. We're going through it.
I'm good. That would be so weird if like I was just like,
That's
"Oh,
it.
I'm
I'm
out.
nervous.
Bye."
I can't do it. No more. No, nothing for me. Well, also, why don't you do me a favor? Why don't you introduce yourself and tell my listeners who you are and what your company does?
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Lydia Davies. I'm the founder and CEO of Osprey. And Osprey is a community for women in sports and entertainment. So, we have several circles within the community. We have a talent circle, which is for professional athletes and entertainers. We have an executive circle for women in the business of sport and entertainment. And we are about to launch our college circle for college female athletes. So it's a community of collaboration, cross branding, elevating events. Um, it's really fun,
Yeah, that's
honestly.
awesome. Well, let's dive in. What's the origin story here? I mean, what's the background? What's the inspiration? How did you kind of put this plan together to get to where you are right now?
Yeah, so I have kind of I'm like one of those people that's lived like many different lives within their lifetime. It's like segmented and that like you go back and you're like, wait, did that happen in this lifetime? So I actually started in the music industry when I was
Mm,
16. I was signed with a management company in the UK, and then I started recording. I'm from the UK, so it's not like I just went over there. Um, I was living in Singapore at the time, and I recorded my first EP in Singapore. Um, and I spent 14 years in the music industry as a singer
mhm.
songwriter, did some production as well. And I also, at the same time, went to college in the UK, played soccer in college. I was an avid athlete. I played a lot of sports in school. I still play sports to this day. And I found that I lived, everywhere I went, it was like very male dominated. And of course, I was young. So I was, vulnerable,
Sure.
naive, all those things. But I had a male manager, a male agent, a male producer. Everyone in my circle
Yeah.
was male, which is totally okay. But you still need the role models, the support system, the safe space to discuss and learn
Yeah.
from women. And I didn't have that. And over the years, I realized, like talking to friends in the industry and female athletes, that everybody felt the same. And I had this sports tech company that was a meetup app, and during running that, I would do women's golf clinics and women's
Mm,
pickleball clinics and get women together, and everything was always about community of women
yeah.
in sports. And then I'd bring my entertainment friends in, and I realized it just created this like incredible, not just friendship, but this incredible space to learn and to talk to people that are on your level and that understand what you're
Yeah.
going through. Um, and you can discuss agents and collaborating and making reels and social media and all that stuff. And it just kind of organically grew from that. We have almost 100 members now. We have Olympic athletes and agents. Every single one of them is incredible. But the best part about it is like it's a business, but they've all
Mm.
become friends, and that was like not something I was really thinking about when I started it. My goal was to generate more wealth for them, create this space for them, get them building businesses, and etc. But now it's like a community of friendship and support as well, which
Yeah,
is
that's great.
awesome.
Well, I think you're kind of dancing around it, but when somebody is asking you, like, tell me this elevator pitch, the core mission, how do you kind of succinctly say, this is what we do? You're a member of this. This is what happens.
Yeah, so if you're a member of Osprey, you get multiple things. We do monthly online pods where you collaborate with the rest of the community to find co-founders, build businesses, cross brand. We also have access to multiple resources from CPAs to lawyers to financial advisors. We do events multiple times a year. We've already had 3 large sold out events this year where we showcase our members on panels as speakers, as coaches. Throughout those events, they've got brand deals and been recruited, and had a lot of press, which is incredible. And then we also do retreats. We're doing one in September where all of the community comes together, and we have this weekend of incredible leadership and adventure and fun. We also offer monthly speaker sessions from
Hmm.
experts. in all different fields based on what the community asks for. And we have a curriculum as well that we follow for leadership and boundaries and development and growth.
Wow. Yeah. So it sounds like somebody's really kind of coming into this kind of community, and you have all of these off ramps potentially for them to go. They could try out this. They could be here. It doesn't sound like it's a probably it doesn't seem like it's a one size fit for everybody, but you're really creating a lot of avenues or scenarios for them to kind of flourish in it. If it am I getting it? Am I seeing it right, my Brian?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So the whole experience is curated. So the curriculum is curated. Each member's experience is going to be different based on what they need and want. For example, we have one member that really needed to get some brand deals for social media, and then we have another member that's trying to get onto a very large TV platform. So there's different people that we connect them with. And different ways to support them. Like I help some of them with decks and I help some of them with sponsorships. So it's very curated. And when we onboard, we find out what their goals are and what is important to them. And we put it all in our database and try and make sure that we make those things
Yeah,
happen.
let's talk a little bit around maybe like the target market. Obviously, you're talking about athletes and entertainment, but what is that perfect maybe customer or target right now that you think really gets the most benefit out of this? I'm sure it's going to grow and change, but for right now where you are, what is that real target you're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there are several different ones for the members that we're targeting. The first is like the retired
Mm,
athlete that is trying to create a business after they finished with their sport. And a lot of that we focus on like helping them collaborate with an executive member to get into the business world. We also have a lot of young influencers, sports influencers, that perhaps didn't go pro in their sport, but are really, really good at it and good at coaching it on
mm,
social media. Um, so that's been a really great target market for us. And then also entertainers that are up and coming that like perhaps don't want a big record deal or perhaps don't want an agent and they're just doing it themselves and they have this platform. Some of our members have millions of followers, and they're just doing it solo, which I mean, I find so empowering and awesome, but we're there to support them and connect them and help them however
yeah,
we can.
I would love to get your opinion on this because you right now I think you see the WNBA just kind of taking off, right? And we all can kind of come back to the Caitlin Clark and the Angela Reese, right? When you're looking at it maybe with your eyes from your vantage point, and you see some of this like pushback, potentially even from maybe male sportscasters, or or they're kind of putting some shade on this. How do you look at a scenario like that that's really kind of it's all over the place culturally right now, right? If I open up my TikTok, I'm probably going to see a Caitlin Clark highlight from last night, right? Which is I did not remember seeing WNBA highlights a year ago. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I just have to be honest. But like, when you're looking at something like that, how does that like just national narrative impact kind of what you're doing right now and how people are just thinking about women's sports, maybe in general?
I mean, it's amazing. Honestly, like I started this company last summer, when it was kind of like starting to get
Mhm.
going. And I think the attention on women's sports is amazing, even if it's negative attention
Yeah.
from haters. That's still getting views and likes and comments. Like, what they used to say is all
Mhm.
press is good press. Um, I think as long as people are paying attention and talking about it, that's what's
Yeah.
important. Uh, Obviously, the people that are saying negative things are just jealous that they can't
Yeah.
dunk a ball
Right.
like that. I don't know, but you know, um, I think just having the attention on it, and then knowing that there's also spaces to go for these women as they are growing their career. I think it's really comforting for them because they're suddenly in this whirlwind of like, oh, now people are actually
Yeah.
watching us, and now people actually know my name, and now people are actually following me on Instagram. Whereas before, like we have some Olympic athletes that are not household names. Like people have maybe watched them, but they're like, I don't know who that person is. But now, like the women are getting that attention they deserve, which is amazing. And it really helps us grow as a company because then we're like, oh, well, hey, come on over here and we'll elevate you even more and give you a space where you'll feel comfortable and have the support of other women
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
field.
Well, in regards to that, how are you kind of selecting or thinking about, either consultants in your world, facilitators? Like, I guess, what's the metrics that you're looking for to say, hey, this would be a great person to do X, Y, and Z for inside of our system?
Yeah, so it's really interesting. The facilitator thing was pretty new to me when I started this. And I was just lucky enough to be connected to so many incredible women. A lot of them have backgrounds of therapy and business coaching. And they're very like neutral in their training. So when they come on and do the pods with our community, they're very balanced in how they listen and what they say and how they get the conversation going. So really, that's a very much a personality thing for me when I interview or talk
Mm.
to someone. For the consultants, just throughout building other businesses in the past, I was again lucky to already know like great venture capitalists, great CPAs, great lawyers that are
Hmm.
all women. Because I spent a lot of years like creating a community of women myself. So I just reached out to them and I was like, hey, do you guys want to, can I put you on our roster for this? Like, can I connect members? Can you give a discount for Osprey members? And so far, I have not had a no, which is amazing. They've all said, yes, wonderful, love it. So I feel very supported in that. And they've all been so helpful and wonderful. And I think we're just going to continue to grow that roster until we have, 100 solid consultant resources for every single thing that our
Yeah,
members
that's
need.
great. How do you, in regards to members' needs, right? Feels like that could be everything, right? But how
No.
how do you at least put some parameters on? These are the 10 most common needs, and I'm just using a loose example here, but like these are the most 10 common needs, and we plan on growing here. So I guess, how do you look at like meeting these needs and having an actual resource, as opposed to being like, oh, we just got, band-aids all over the place and we really don't, you know what I mean? Like, I got to imagine you have to be thinking, no, 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 this is a real path that meets that need. So how do you kind of facilitate
Yeah,
that?
for sure. So we use Typeform
Mhm.
a lot. That's one of our resources that is highly used. We send out surveys it's about twice a quarter, um, asking the members like what their top priorities are currently. So, like for example, the last survey, the top priority was branding and
Mhm.
marketing experts. So we had my friend Jamie Lamb, who's an incredible branding marketing person. She came on and did a whole speech and did a deck that we sent them to as a follow up, and then she offered them a discount. There was fashion styling was important to them because a lot of them are athletes and they don't know how to go dress for an interview or something. So we had an expert fashion stylist, Kim Appelt, who was amazing, come on and talk to the community. So it's all based on surveys. And generally we get a really good response. It's normally at least 60-70% of the community responds on the
Mhm.
surveys. So we have a really good idea of what's needed. Finance is always high on the priority list. So we have a lot of financial people come in. We just had Carrie Colbert from Curate Capital come in and do an
Mhm.
awesome talk. Um, so I think that making sure we are continuing to ask and find out what they need as a whole. I think 90% of them put the branding
Mhm.
marketing as their number one. So we knew that's like a given. And I think everybody needs, even the social media queens in our community that have millions of followers were like, we need
Yeah,
branding help. And I was like, I think you could give me branding help, honestly.
that's
But it's just something that people always are looking for to grow and learn new things and learn tips and
Yeah.
tricks and all that.
So you've mentioned the word pod a few times in this interview. Walk maybe my listeners through, like, let's elaborate on that. What is a structure? What does the pod mean? How is that kind of put together? Just, yeah, what is that? What does that actually mean in your mind?
Yeah, so the pod thing came up originally when the company was kind of the foundation was being
Hmm.
built. Um, but we wanted everyone to be in these like small pods where they could really get to know the other members
Hmm.
in that pod for 3 months and then switch out to another pod based on their needs. So we kind of structured them where like all the working moms
Hmm.
are together or all the retired athletes are together, and then we switch them up. So they go on a pod once a month. Some of them are the small ones that I just discussed, and then some of them are cross community ones where the executives and the talent members come on together and we do breakout rooms. Um, for example, on the last one we had during our breakout rooms, the goal was for everyone to get one connect from
Mm,
someone else. So say what you need and then see who can help connect you. And their homework was to do that connection. So we have a whole curriculum for it that we follow. Sometimes it changes a little bit, but we wrote a year's worth curriculum. And the facilitators were all given the curriculum and trained on it. And then they do follow ups. So it's kind of like your little group that you get to know better. Because I mean, with 100 members, it's hard to get to know each
yeah.
person online. Um, so and then we're like, okay, she's moved on from that and she needs to do this now instead. So then we switch
Gotcha.
groups.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And I guess, how are people getting together? Is it based on like surveys, or is it just like this? It seems like it's a little mini matchmaking to some degree. And you're saying, hey, these three people make sense. I don't even know, five people, whatever it is, something along those lines.
Yes, it's matchmaking, correct. Like there's a couple of members that wanted to start businesses, so we put
Mm,
them together. It's definitely curated and
yeah.
thought about. We're not just like, let's
Sure.
throw this person in with
Sure.
this person. Um, and I think like even with the breakout rooms and stuff, it's like, who do we think can mentor who, and who can, even for the younger people, like they can help the executives with their social media, because their expertise is being an
Sure. Sure.
influencer. So it's really fun actually to see what like they learn from each other, because it's unexpected
Mm,
sometimes. And it kind of just, with women, like the lights go on and they're like, oh, I know someone that can
mhm,
help you. And it's always about
mm.
collaborating and supporting and
That's interesting.
elevating.
Yeah. If you had a time machine and you went back, maybe to, let's go, the music career, how would you have seen what you're currently doing maybe impacting you positively back then? Like, do you have anything in your mind you were like, gosh,
Oh
if I would
gosh.
have had this, or I could have met that person, it'd be a different conversation right now.
This community for me when I was in the music industry would have been my
Mm,
saving grace. Like I there was multiple times I crashed and burned because I didn't have anyone
mm,
to ask. And one time it was, I was young and vulnerable and, not in a good
mhm,
situation. And that I didn't know, like, do I lose my record deal or do I get out of the situation? And, when you're young, you're like, I
yep,
don't know. Luckily, I picked the right one and I got out of the situation. But those are the times I'm like, I needed a group of mentors, of
mm,
women, of peers to talk to and be like, hey, has this happened to you? I felt weird. I didn't know what to do. Same thing with just signing contracts. I mean, I look back, I signed a management contract when I was 18 that I had no
sure,
idea what
right,
it said. Like, no, like I don't even, I look back now and I'm like, why did I do that? What was I thinking? That I wanted it so bad. It was a great
mhm,
manoger, and I was like, this is a great opportunity. I couldn't pay a lawyer. I didn't even really know how to
right,
find
right,
a lawyer. Like I was not resourceful like I am now. And he ended up taking like 45% or something ridiculous and didn't do anything and was kind
mm,
of a scumbag. So like, there's all those things where like if I could have just called someone or text the community or messaged a group of women and been like, hey, is this a
yeah,
good idea? It probably would have
yeah,
saved me.
yeah. I struggle with this quite a bit. You and I have a very similar background, which is wild. I own recording studios. I have songs everywhere. I did the music world and crashed and burned, and now I'm in my space of crowdfunding. Um, and I've lost a lot of hair from it, a lot of therapy, to navigate these.
Hey, it
Uh,
suits you,
yeah.
Jeff.
But I sometimes have to come back, and I wonder what your feeling is on this, around that I actually had to learn those lessons. Like we're all learning lessons as we go, and is there a dream that like every move is the perfect move, right? Just, oh, I did sign the perfect contract at 18. I did have the perfect thing, as opposed to like, no, 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 no. You were supposed to learn that, because that created how I maybe approach everything now. And I know that that's, again, that's probably, you hear my therapy coming through of like, okay, I got to accept this. I got to accept this. But do you ascribe any of that, of like, we are supposed to learn some of these lessons as we go, and they may be hard lessons sometimes, and would that have been advice that maybe even a group would say, like, you know what, just try it, let's see what happens, how bad could it be, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think you have to have that. So I'm wondering, if you think at all along those lines.
100%. Like, I mean, I'm a strong believer in karma and I
Hmm.
meditate and, and pray and do all that stuff. And I think like stuff I've gone through, and there has been, several tragedies in my life. I think that going through those things and experiencing failures and traumas and all that, like, whilst it's awful at the time, like the tenacity and the strength and the discipline and the gifts it gives you along the way build you into
Yeah,
who you are. I mean, there's no way I could do half of what I could do now if I hadn't had all those
sure.
pitfalls. And I think like I'm very much like into critical thinking. So I sit, once something fails, I
Mhm.
sit with it for a long time. And I think like, why did that happen? Let myself feel the grief and the failure and everything. And then what did I learn from it? And you learn something from everything. Like everything is a lesson. Even this hurricane we just had, I learned how to
Yeah,
fix a fence. Like, I mean, I didn't know how to do that. I also didn't know how to like power my
sure.
generator properly, and
Yep.
now I do. Like there's something to everything that seems negative
Right.
at the time. There's always things to learn, and I think like as you get older, you're just building on your foundation of skills, and it's awesome to have tons of skills. You feel so
Mhm.
empowered. You're like, well, now I could go live off grid.
Well, yeah, let me know how that works in a year from now when you're,
Yeah,
yeah,
I won't be
living in
doing it
Wyoming
yet, but
and
I got to learn to hunt properly first.
well, bringing it back kind of, to the company and stuff, like, walk me through maybe a year well, I'm sorry, you said it was about a year ago you started this, like, last summer, right? So,
Yep,
like,
correct.
what's that first early challenge that you really had to get over? Like, as you're kinda just putting the world together, right? Like, what's that first one where adversity hit and you were like, "No, no, we got through it."
Um, I think like getting the first members
Mm,
on board was hard for me because I was like, well, now that I have members, I have to prove
sure. Yeah,
value
yeah,
to them.
yeah. Mhm.
It's like you work so hard to talk the members
Right,
into
right.
joining, and then they've joined and they're like pumped up, and you're like, now I have to create value in this community and give
Sure,
them something that
sure.
keeps them here. And I think that, like, I think I sat for like a week, maybe more, and I was like, you know how to create value, Lydia.
Mm,
You can do this. And I had to really build out this whole system of like, this is what we're going to give to them, why it's important. And I had done it. I had done it before we started getting members, but it was like everything it changes and is fluid when you have a
yeah,
startup. So once you actually have the members and you're talking to them, you're like, oh, well, that's actually a different personality than I thought, and they'll be needing this. So it was more like belief in myself that I could provide the value that they deserved, and I didn't want to let them down. Like I don't want to let the women down because I'm here to fight for them and create impact, and that's important to me and to
right.
my daughter. um, and it's
Yeah,
impact's hard. Creating impact is a
yeah.
challenge, um, but I feel like I have the tenacity to do it. So yeah, just
How are
self-belief.
you doing, like, maybe your internal team that's building all the stuff you're talking about? Is it just you? Is it a team around you? And obviously you have, the resources that you get to pull from, but what's your internal team look like right now?
Yeah, I mean, they're wonderful, honestly. So I have a one of our first members, Rebecca Johnson. She helps me with some membership stuff, and then we have Robin, who is head of the college circle. She recruits all the colleges, and the
Mhm.
college members, which she's having a lot of fun doing. Mira, our director of operations, is awesome at like just doing the stuff I can't. Like, it's not like I can't, but I don't like doing all the
Sure.
system stuff. And she's just like gone hard on it, and I love that. So I mean, they're all just incredible women that just also want to create
Mhm.
this change, and have things. When you see a 5 times Olympic gold athlete and you find out that they're making an entry level salary, it makes you feel
Yeah.
sick inside. And when the members tell us those stories, everyone is like, so it touches everyone. It makes us mad. It gives us a fury to and fire to go. And all of the team feels that way, which is
Yeah,
important.
I just experienced that. My wife has no idea how sports works. She did not play anything in high school. So, my son plays a lot. My daughter swims. So sports is in our life now. And I played my whole life too. So that's been a unique thing. But again, I'm going to bring back Caitlin Clark here a minute ago. We were watching and we all sat down and watched these games. And when I said to her, like out loud, that she'll probably make like 100 grand, and my wife was like, you're out of your mind. There's no way. And to see that rage and to see and again, I love the conversation. My daughter's 10. She was around at the time. She was just like, are you kidding me? I was like, no, she's probably going to make that. And it's just like,
Yeah.
this is wild, and then to be sitting there and we're all as a family watching, these moments that I know my daughter remembers, I know my wife remembers, but like that, man, there's just it's a sucker punch right after that good moment. And that's challenging. And I
Yeah.
mean, you just mentioned your daughter, like those are things that I'm trying to like speak into more, right? Like, I'm a white guy. I'm aware from the Midwest. I'm fully aware of what I look like. I get it, but like speaking into that, I think is a powerful thing that hopefully my daughter, when she, like I said, she's 10, when she is at that level, hopefully things are getting closer. But man, it's a lot of work at the end of the day. So yeah,
It's a lot of work. It's a lot. And I'm sick of the baby steps. Like, I mean, people are like, oh, it's gotten so much better. It's like, yeah, it's gotten better, but it took 20 years for it to move the needle a little bit. Like, that's not
mhm,
okay. It should take 6 months to
yeah,
move the needle, you know? And that makes me mad. And the fact that they were like, oh, yeah, Caitlin's getting 70K a year, but it's okay. She'll get sponsorships and endorsements. Like, that's not the
I
point. The point is that her salary is what was it,
74,
like
70, yeah, it was
74K or
wild.
something. Yeah, I'm like, I don't care that Nike is going to give her money. Like, what I care about is that that's the salary that you're putting out to the world, that you're paying it. You're showing young girls that want to be pro basketball players that that's
Yeah.
what they're going to make. I mean, it's just it's
It is, and
unacceptable.
we'll try not to have this conversation go completely over there, but like I just wonder. I mean, deep down, I wonder how much that time is just the old guard continuing to move on. It really is because
A
the
hundred
the people
percent.
still pulling a lot of levers. They did not think this way, right? They did not have these types of conversations, and
Yeah.
and I do think you see it slowly happening, maybe more in business world a little bit here and there, but I do think that. I'll tell you, I mean, I can complain. My wife works with me, but man, when she was in the corporate setting and the amount that was dumped on her and the unfair balance and all of that stuff, there is still just a cultural shift around. I describe it as like just the dumping of everything on our women, right? Like they got to raise the kids,
Yeah.
make a bunch of money, have careers, you know, be at every sporting event, volunteer and everything. It is a lot that we're putting on people. And, it's taken even me a few years to recognize like, oh yeah, even though I felt like I wasn't, oh, nope, I didn't contribute to the household chores, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Right. Like,
Yeah.
so I just wonder how much even stuff like I'm talking about right now is just talked about. And then that information still has to, I think, go to the other 50% here, the males, to like at least understand it. You know what I mean? And I think that's the real work right now is,
Yeah.
getting more guys like me to understand it and talk about it. It feels like so.
And yeah, and I so appreciate that you understand that because people don't sit back and look like, a working parent alone, society is not made for a working parent, whether
Right.
you're a dad or a mom. But then you look at like a women's role as well as like generally being, more of the planning the family stuff and taking the kids to school and all that stuff. Like you're screwed. I mean, I just experienced it in the hurricane. All the
Mm.
camps were shut down. We all had no power. And I'm supposed to still
Yep.
work. So it's like,
Yeah.
what do you do? There's nothing you
Yep.
can do. You're just stuck. You're stuck
Yeah.
in limbo. And it's the same with like the summer times, like you got to pay $10,000
Yeah.
for your kid in camp all summer,
I
or you're
know that,
screwed.
that is our summers. It is wild. Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. The prices are crazy. You got to be a millionaire to afford kids
Yeah.
these days. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think getting the men to recognize that is really important. I was super lucky to have at our Osprey, like our campaign launch party recently, some awesome retired NFL players that came to one of our events, came and supported us, and they see it and they recognize it and they think it's important. So just getting that whole band of men together to really help fight for it will make a big difference. Because you're right, it's not, I have friends in the oil industry and they're still treated like unfairly, not paid the same as their male counterpart,
Yeah.
all that stuff. So yeah, it's getting everyone behind
It
it
really is.
together.
Let's move back kind of over to what you're working on. Let's talk a little bit around maybe like technologies, innovations. How are you using or leveraging kind of today's tools, Zoom, this global ecosystem that we're all a part of? How are you utilizing those to make these connections easy? That can just happen very quickly. How are you using kind of technology and innovations like that right now?
Yeah, I mean, we use Zoom a lot for our meetings and our speaker sessions. I love it with like the breakout rooms and all the things you can do on there. I think it's really great for what we're doing. We also have a members only app, which is an app that I originally made for my other
Mm,
business teammates, social media and events, and I just rebranded it into an Osprey
mm,
members only app so they can like win prizes and group chat on there. We're kind of in the middle of getting everyone
nice.
on that right now. Um, but it's really cool because you can just join the events and see what's happening, and then you can share like brand deals. Like we've had a situation where a brand deal needed to be passed on to someone else because it didn't match and
Mm,
all that kind of stuff. So that's really going to be our main focus of using for the members connecting. um, I'm still trying to honestly get a good space to hold all the resources because obviously there's Google Drive and whatnot, but to allow the members to easily access the resources. So if anyone has tips, I'm open to hear them. And then just using AI to help us generate, recruitment messages, sponsorship letters, all that kind of stuff so that we have our updates.
the thought pattern behind going after Reg CF, bringing on investors right now, and just kind of how are you approaching fundraising for the company?
Yeah, so we set up a crowdfunding on Republic for several reasons. Partly because some of our members were interested in investing, and it allows you to invest as low as $100 and not be accredited. Um, but
Mhm.
also because we had some male athletes that were interested in investing, and as well as some people from overseas. So
Mm.
it just seemed like the right route with what we were doing. I think that allowing the world to be a part of a community is important because then you have a community supporting the community. Um, for our
Yeah.
pre-seed, we just did angel investors, and I feel like it wasn't the kind of like involvement we wanted from the people because we wanted society and the fans and everyone to get involved in supporting these women and helping them generate more wealth and be seen and be heard. So I think that was the main reason for it. It's been really interesting to see like who is behind it and who is, kind of talking about being behind it, but not done it yet. But I feel like we're getting a lot of interest from overseas, which is great. In the Middle East and Asia,
Mm.
they're keen to get behind it, which is awesome because we're going to do region 2 in Europe and the Middle East. So that's exciting for us to just get it out there.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. What does success look like in your program? It feels like it can be all over the place, but if somebody, if a woman's coming to you and they're in, they're from the market and they say, we want to be a part of this, how do you measure that? How do you answer that type of question? Like, because it does feel like again, it could be a lot of different things for different people.
Yeah, honestly. So are you talking about if it's a potential member?
Yeah, to remember, yeah,
Okay.
like what is success in this space?
Yeah, so I'll use one example. One of our DJs, she has DJ'd at two of our three large events we've had this year. At those events, she has got brand deals, she's got new gigs, she's had press all over multiple news stations. That right there is a success story for us because now she's like booking, and I mean, she does all of her, like tons of her own work, and obviously is great at what she does. She's actually like the most fun DJ I've ever heard. But she from just doing that, she's been seen by all these people that she wouldn't have been seen by. And that's the whole point of our events, is to like put on these huge things at the Super Bowl or at the Indy and get our members seen and heard. So that
Mm.
was proven to work there. At our Birdies and Bubbles event, which was a big women's golf event here in Houston, we had our Fox News anchor, Caroline Collins, host it. So it was
Mm.
live on Fox News. So all the members that came and were a part of that panel got to be seen on Fox News. We had Laura Wilkinson, our Olympic diver. We had Elisa Kesar, who was like this incredible golf influencer. So they all got seen and heard, which is that's a success story for us.
That's great. That's great. So, well, let's talk. When you're talking to anybody kind of getting into your system, what is that first round of advice that you're typically noticing over and over and over? This is for everybody, kind of that first hurdle. Like, this is my first advice for whatever niche you're in, the DJ down to you want to, uh, college students. Like, where do you tip? What is that starting point? What is the first thing that you're like, hey, this is the right mindset to be in?
Ask for what you need. Like, don't be
Mm.
afraid to ask. Women generally feel like they can't ask for help. Like, I know that's a general
Mm.
statement, but it's very, very common within women. Um, and they feel like they don't always deserve the help. And I think it's important to let them know that we are here to help and you need to ask for what you need and be assertive and say it clearly, and then we can help you. I think we've had success with our talent circle with that, but for our executive circle, I follow up with them and be like, what do you need? Who do you need to be connected with? Because it's not always easy to ask for, support, or you think a question is stupid, or you
Mm.
don't think that your needs can be met, or that it's impossible, but nothing's impossible. Obviously we
Mhm.
can't make every magical thing happen, but we can certainly try. And trying,
Yeah.
whether it doesn't happen this year, it might happen in a couple years. So I think that's the number one thing I always say, like, tell me what you need. And I write it in every newsletter. Like, if you need
Mm.
something, if you need a connection, if you need a resource, if you need support, ask.
Yeah. If an investor is asking you what they're actually investing in, what do you say to that question? What am I investing in when it comes to your company?
Yeah, so it's creating change for women in sports and entertainment. It's creating impact. It's creating a space that we can actually make change in the world and not just talk about it. I
Mm.
think that we have big plans. We have big plans for an Osprey agency, an Osprey TV channel that houses the shows of our members. Um, but also, you're investing in the future for women, for the young girls, for your daughters, for your sisters, for your granddaughters. I mean,
Mm.
they might be playing sports now, but do you want them to go and play professional softball and get paid $28,000 a year? No. So you're
Yeah.
investing in a chance for them, and for them there to be role models that actually stick with the sport because they can afford to live off of it, which is a huge issue that we have. A lot of members quit because they're not getting paid enough. Um, so I think just having that mindset where you're like, if we don't all get together and do this, it's not going to change. Like, action has to be taken. And yes, we're going to make
Yeah.
you some money off of it, but at the same time, be part of the community, be part of the movement.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Well, where should people dive in if they want to know more information? Maybe talk to you. Where do people go to learn more?
Sure. So you can go on our website. If you're a potential member, you can go on the website and fill out a form, or just send in your email. If you're an investor, you can go check out the website, joinosprey.com. You can go to our campaign on Republic, which is the Osprey campaign. You can check out LinkedIn. We have an Instagram. Everything is Join Osprey. Our Instagram shows a bunch of our members and the events that we do. Um, or you can email me, Lydia at joinosprey.com.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know you're busy. You're right in the middle of it. Got a lot of stuff going on. But before I go, I want to pivot over to something that has nothing to do with fundraising, the company, that stuff. I ask everybody these 5 questions at the end of it. So the clock starts now. So what are you watching on TV right now? Are you watching any shows or anything, or anything that you're enjoying on the old Netflixes of the world?
I just watched the America's Sweethearts Dallas Cowboys documentary, the
Oh,
cheerleaders
yeah. Yeah.
documentary, because it actually like said like how much they were getting paid and how much work they did, and I found it
Mhm.
really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's pretty disgusting what they were getting paid, if I'm not mistaken.
It's like it's less than 20K a year.
Yeah, it's wild. And I don't think too, correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think we're doing any spoilers here, but like, and then they didn't really get like brand deals or merch deals or reoccurring revenue from anything, right? Like it's just like
No,
you're wearing the uniform,
no.
you know? It's wild.
It's
All right.
like,
How
yeah.
about yeah, it's crazy. How about books? Are you reading any books right now?
I'm actually rereading two books. Zero to One by Peter Thiel. Is it Peter Thiel?
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that one I've reread a couple times. It's been really helpful for me, like with startup life. And then I'm reading Elon Musk's biography by Walter, I think it's Walter Isaacson. Uh, that's really interesting.
Mm.
I kind of skimmed through it the first time, and now I'm like really rereading it because I find him very fascinating. Um, but yeah, those are. I'm a heavy reader. I don't
Nice.
pick li- I don't like light reading.
That's cool. How about podcasts? You listening to podcasts right now?
I listen to one of our members. Well, actually, I listen to all of our members' podcasts. A lot of them have different podcasts based on like Olympic sports. One of our executives has a podcast called Her Table. Laura and Kat have podcasts. Leah has a podcast. There's amazing sports podcasts from our members, and I think that just like hearing them and listening to their stories, I find like really fun and interesting. And then I'm also a huge Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman podcast fan, so I'm constantly listening to their guests.
Gotcha. And then, like, if you're going to the internet, where are you going to get information, just to kind of keep up to speed? Like, what are some of the sites you frequent?
I use LinkedIn a lot, honestly, because it directs me to places. I feel like there's a
Hmm.
lot of people posting good articles and good resources on LinkedIn. So I kind of use that as a starting spot and then see where it takes me. I like to read a lot of articles about startups and building and scaling and all that kind of stuff. So generally, that's where I start.
Nice, nice. And how about music? Last one, music. What are you listening to right now?
Oh, I am like in a full like 90s revival right now. Like I went back to like my 10th grade self in the past month, and like I'm back to like Red Hot Chili Peppers and Soundgarden and Metallica, and like I
Yeah,
just I can't stop. It's like I don't know if like the way the stars are aligned, like this is the year of this, that aligns with my
yeah.
10th grade self. But I am like I've had Other Side on repeat in my car for like a month
Uh,
now, and my kids are like,
that's
"What is like? Can we put on Taylor Swift? What is this?"
yeah, yeah. It is funny. Have you ever seen the meme of like the albums that all dropped in like '91? It was like Pearl Jam,
Yeah.
Soundgarden, Bad Motorfinger, Metallica, Nirvana, Nevermind, and it's like they all dropped in like a 2 month period. And you're like that. Oh, Blood Sugar Sex Magic by the Chili Peppers. You're
Oh,
like
so
these
good.
are like
But it's all so good.
all
It's
classic.
so good.
Yeah, yeah. That's great. Well, Lydia, I appreciate you taking time out of your day and fighting through it with the power, the hurricane, the
Thank
storms,
you,
everything you
and
got going
thank
on
you,
here.
Jeff.
Yeah, yeah. For everybody out there, go to the show notes, click around, jump into the world here. You're doing some amazing stuff, and I'm really glad we got this conversation in. And I look forward to seeing what you're doing from my vantage point. It's really inspiring stuff. I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, and I appreciate you having me.
Awesome.